Yo, what's good, fam? Before we get into this one, let me tell you this story's gonna hit different. We're talking about Clara Hayes, 59, living way the hell out in the Appalachian Mountains up in Virginia, where the fog rolls in thick like smoke from a bad barbecue and the roads twist like they got something to hide. Nearest town's a solid hour drive if the weather ain't acting up. And out there, nobody's checking your Insta stories or asking for your Netflix password. This whole thing's 100% fiction, straight up made up from the wild corners of imagination, but the heart of it, the part about stepping up when fear's staring you down, that's the realest shit I can drop on you today. Clara wasn't always out there playing pioneer. Nah, she grew up in a little spot called Roanoke, back when life was all about school bells and Friday night lights. She became a teacher, the kind that actually gives a damn high school English, drilling Shakespeare into kids who thought Romeo was a rapper. Married her high school sweetheart, Tom, who worked the coal mines until his back gave out. They had dreams, man. Save up, buy a cabin in the hills, retire early, watch the leaves change colors without a care. But life don't always play fair. Tom got hit with lung cancer from all those years underground, fought it like a champ for 2 years, but in the end, it took him. Left Clara alone at 57, with a pension that barely covered the basics, and a heart that felt like it got ripped in half. She moved to that cabin anyway. It was their dream spot, tucked deep in the Shenandoah Valley, surrounded by oaks and pines that whispered secrets when the wind picked up. No kids, they tried, but it never happened. And that was a quiet ache she carried like an old scar. Now, at 59, Clara's days were simple, straight out of some old-timey novel. She'd wake up at dawn, brew coffee strong enough to wake the dead, then get to chopping wood for the stove. Axe in hand, swing after swing, feeling the burn in her arms like it was therapy. Ain't nobody gonna do it for you out here, she'd mutter to herself, wiping sweat even in the chill. Afternoons were for the garden, or what was left of it in late fall heading into winter. She'd tend to the last of the root veggies, potatoes and carrots buried under mulch, fighting off deer that thought her plot was an all-you-can-eat buffet. Reading by the fire at night, classics mostly Hemingway, Austen, stuff that took her mind off the empty chair across the room. Radio for company, crackling with bluegrass tunes, or weather reports warning about snow coming in hard. Locals down in the valley talked wild sometimes, over coffee at the diner she'd hit once a month for supplies. Stories about haints in the hills, ghosts and critters that didn't belong in no biology book. Bigfoot, they called it Sasquatch, skunk ape, whatever. Massive footprints stamped in mud, trees snapped like toothpicks at heights no bear could reach. Howls that echoed at midnight, sounding too human to ignore, but too wild to explain. Clara laughed it off every time. "Y'all been watching too much TV," she'd say, grabbing her groceries and heading back up the mountain. She wasn't one for fairy tales. Life had thrown enough real curveballs her way. No need to chase shadows. But deep down, in the quiet nights, when the cabin creaked and the wind howled, she'd wonder, just a little. 'Cause out there, alone, you start noticing things. The way the forest went silent sometimes, like it was holding its breath. Or how her dog, an old mutt named Rusty she'd adopted after Tom passed, would stare into the trees, hackles up, growling at nothing. Rusty died a year back, natural causes. But Clara still felt that emptiness double up. Winter hit early that year, snow flurries teasing the air by mid-November, blanketing the ground in white that crunched underfoot. Clara stocked up canned goods, firewood stacked high against the cabin wall, lanterns oiled and ready for when power lines inevitably snapped under ice. She was prepared, or so she thought. Living like that changes you, fam. Makes you tough, self-reliant, but also lonely as hell. Clara didn't mind the solitude most days. It was like a blanket she wrapped around her grief. But sometimes, staring out the frost-laced window, she'd feel it that pull, like the mountains were alive, watching back. And yo, this is where the setup gets real. Clara's out there living her best hermit life, chopping wood and shit, thinking she's got it all figured out. But the universe? Nah, it had other plans. Strange signs started popping up, subtle at first, like whispers building to a shout. One morning, after a light snow, she stepped out to fetch water from the stream and froze. Right there, in the fresh powder, footprints. Not deer, not bear. These were big. Dude, like dinner plate sized, with toes that looked almost human but stretched out, deep impressions showing weight that had to be north of 500 pounds. They trailed from the tree line, circled her woodpile, then vanished back into the woods. Clara knelt down, touched one with her gloved hand. "What in the hell?" she whispered, heart picking up speed. No claws, no pads, just flat, broad steps, spaced wide like whatever made him was tall as a basketball hoop. She shook it off, blamed it on melting snow playing tricks. But that night, Rusty would have been barking his head off if he was still around. Instead, Clara sat by the fire, book in lap, but her eyes kept drifting to the window. The feeling hit her then, that vibe when someone's staring but you can't see him. Yeah, that. Heavy, insistent. Like eyes boring into the cabin from the dark. She pulled the curtains tight, turned up the radio, but sleep didn't come easy. Dreams of Tom mixed with shadows lumbering through the trees. Next day, more signs. Branches broken high up, 10, 12 feet off the ground, snapped clean like some giant had leaned on him for support. Clara hiked a bit, following a trail she knew well, and found rocks stacked in a pyramid shape off the path. Not natural, not kids playing too remote for that. Animals don't build shit like this, she muttered, kicking one over. But the unease stuck, crawling under her skin. Evenings got weirder, low rumbles from the forest. Not thunder, not wind, more like grunts, muffled and distant. One time, she swore she heard a whistle, sharp and melodic, echoing back like a call and response. Clara started keeping her shotgun by the door, loaded but safety on. Not that she planned to use it, just comfort, you know. Weeks dragged on, snow piling deeper, turning the world into a white maze. Clara's routine held, but the signs amped up. Footprints closer now, right up to the porch, one dawn, like whatever it was had stood there, peering in. Hair caught on a low branch, coarse, dark, smelling musky like wet dog, but stronger. She bagged it, tucked it away, telling herself it was bare fur. But doubts crept in. Local stories replayed in her head. Them things been here forever, older than the hills. They watch, but they don't mess unless you mess first. Clara dismissed it during daylight, but at night? Man, the isolation hits different when you feel eyes on you. One afternoon, chopping wood, axe mid-swing, she stopped cold. A snap in the trees, loud as a gunshot. She spun, saw nothing but the air felt thick, charged. Rusty would have lost his mind.
Did you hear that?
Clara called out,
What was it?
voice steady but loud. Who's there? This ain't public land. Silence. Then, a rustle, fading away. She finished the chop quick, hauled the logs inside, barred the door early. That night, storm brewing, wind whipping snow into flurries. She sat with tea, trying to read, but her mind wandered. What if the stories were true? What if something out there was real, not just mountain gossip? Clara wasn't scared, not exactly, more curious, mixed with that street-smart caution you get from living life raw. And fam, this is building to something. Clara's out here, tough as nails, but the signs are stacking up like unpaid bills. Footprints everywhere now, circles around the cabin like patrols. Broken branches forming patterns, almost like markers. That watched feeling, constant, like a shadow you can't shake. One evening, she found a deer carcass near the stream, gutted clean, but no scavenger marks, just precise cuts, like tools were used. Ain't no wolf did this, she thought, backing away slow. Whistles at dusk, closer, answering each other across the ridges. Clara started noting it all in a journal, dates and details, like she was piecing a puzzle. Humor in the mix, though Clara talking to herself, cracking jokes to break the tension. If you're Bigfoot, At least bring beer next time, she'd yell into the woods, laughing at her own foolishness. But deep down, something shifted. The loneliness eased a bit. Even imaginary company was company. Winter deepened, blizzards threatening on the horizon, supplies low, but Clara held firm. Little did she know, those signs weren't random. They were warnings, or maybe invitations. Something big was coming, straight up testing her. Days blurred, snow insulating the world in quiet. More footprints, fresh ones overlapping old. A massive handprint on a tree trunk, fingers splayed wide as her forearm. Clara traced it, whispering, "What are you?" No fear yet, just that pull. Locals would have said she was marked, chosen. She brushed it off, but the journal pages filled. One night, thunderous knocks on trees boom, 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 echoing like drums. Clara gripped her mug, heart thumping. "All right, universe," she said. "Bet. Let's see what you got. And yo, this part right here. This is where Clara's simple life starts cracking. The signs ain't stopping. They're escalating. Massive logs moved overnight, stacked like firewood, but way bigger than she could lift. Scratches on bark, high up, like territory marks. That musky scent lingering in the air after storms. Clara ventured deeper one day, following tracks, curiosity, winning over caution. Found a cave mouth, hidden by vines, with bones scattered clean-picked, arranged almost artistic. She didn't go in. Smart move. But the vibe? Heavy, ancient. Back at the cabin, she reinforced windows, stocked ammo, but it wasn't about defense. It was preparation. The feeling of being watched turned to something else. Almost like companionship. "If you're out there, I ain't bothering you," she murmured one dusk. Response? A low hum, vibrating through the ground. Clara froze, then smiled faint. "Okay then." Winter's grip tightened. Blizzards on the forecast. Clara's ready, or thinks she is. But fam, the setup's complete. The isolation, the grief, the daily grind, all laced with these strange-ass signs that got her questioning everything. Footprints leading right to her door now. Branches woven into shapes on her path. Watched every move, but no threat, just presence. Something's brewing in those hills, and Clara's right in the middle. Real talk, she's about to get tested for real. Yo, all right fam, we're diving straight into part 2. If you missed the first drop, go back. Clara Hayes, 59, out in the Appalachian wilds, dealing with her grief, chopping wood like a boss, and starting to notice these weird-ass signs that something big and hairy is lurking. Footprints, broken branches, that constant watched vibe. Winter's clamping down, blizzards on deck, and Clara's tough, but she's about to get thrown into the deep end. This is where the encounter hits, and shit gets real quick. Remember, all fiction, but the feels, straight fire. Winter didn't ease up. Nah, it doubled down like it had a grudge. Snow started falling heavy one evening, the kind that piles up fast and turns everything into a frozen maze. Clara was inside, stoking the fire, when the wind picked up, howling through the cracks like ghosts on a mission. She figured it'd be another night of radio, static, and tea, but around midnight, something cut through the storm noise. A wail low, mournful, not quite animal, not quite human. It drifted in from the tree line, piercing the blizzard like a knife. Clara froze, mug halfway to her lips. "What the hell is that?" she muttered, setting it down slow. She grabbed her lantern, cranked it up, and peered out the window. Snow whipping everywhere, visibility zero, but the sound came again closer, desperate, sounded like pain, raw and deep. Clara's teacher instincts kicked in. She'd dealt with hurt kids back in the day, bandaging knees and soothing tears. But this? Out here? Her gut twisted. Could be a coyote caught in a drift, or worse. She bundled up coat, boots, gloves, shotgun in hand, just in case. "Ain't nobody dying on my watch tonight," she said to the empty cabin, stepping out into the whiteout. Wind bit her face like needles, snow up to her knees already. She trudged toward the sound, lanterns swinging, casting shadows that danced wild. The wail turned to sobs, guttural and heartbreaking. Clara pushed on, heart pounding, following the noise to the edge of the woods. And there, huddled against a fallen log, half buried in snow, was something that straight up shouldn't exist. A figure big, covered in dark fur matted with ice, arms wrapped around a smaller bundle. The bigger one looked up, eyes glowing faint in the lantern light. Not bear, not wolf humanoid, tall, even crouched, face like an ape but with intelligence burning in those eyes. Bigfoot, or Sasquatch, whatever you call it. But real, breathing, and in agony. The smaller one in its arms? A kid, a baby Bigfoot, limp and shivering, fur, slick with blood from a gash on its leg. Looked like it tangled with something sharp, maybe a trap, edges torn ragged. The mother cause, that's what she was, no doubt let out another sob, rocking the little one gently. Her body shook, not just from cold, but grief. Clara's breath caught. Every cell in her body screamed, "Hell no, run back. Bar the door. Pretend this ain't happening." This thing could crush her like a twig. But those eyes, pleading, trusting, like she knew Clara was her last shot. The baby whimpered weak, chest barely rising. Infection setting in, fever hot even through the snow. Clara stood there, storm raging, time stretching like taffy. "Oh, damn," she whispered. "Choice time, and it could have gone sideways real quick." Shoot? Scream? Nah. Something deeper kicked in that maternal pull she'd buried after years of empty nurseries. She lowered the shotgun, slung it over her shoulder. "All right, Big Mama," she said soft, voice steady despite the fear. "Let's get your kid out of this mess." The mother didn't move, just watched as Clara approached slow, hands out like calming a spooked horse. No growl, no threat, just that heavy stare. Clara knelt, snow soaking her knees, and checked the baby. Wound deep, pus oozing, leg swollen twice normal size. Hypothermia hitting too, little guy's skin cold under the fur. She looked up at the mother. "I got this. Trust me." No words back, but the mother shifted, loosening her hold just enough. Clara wrapped her scarf around the wound quick, stemming the bleed, then scooped the baby up surprisingly light for its size, maybe 50 pounds, like a big toddler. The mother rose slow, towering at least 7 feet, muscles rippling under fur, but she didn't stop her. Just followed at a distance, as Clara trudged back to the cabin, baby in arms, lantern dangling from her belt. Inside, warmth hit like a hug. Clara laid the baby on the rug by the fire, stripped off wet layers, and got to work. She wasn't a nurse, but teaching had her handling emergencies, broken arms, bee stings, even a seizure once. Plus, backwoods living meant stocking basics. First, aid kit, herbs from her garden, homemade salve from beeswax and yarrow. She boiled water on the stove, cleaned the wound gentle with rags, wincing at the pus. "Looks like barbed wire, or a snare," she muttered. "Poachers maybe, or hunters, setting illegal traps for bear." The gash was infected bad, red streaks spidering out. She packed it with crushed garlic and honey natural antibiotics, then bandaged tight. The baby stirred once, letting out a weak grunt, eyes cracking open dark and wide. No fight, too far gone. Clara spooned warm broth veggie stock she'd canned, dribbling it slow into his mouth. He swallowed reflexive, good sign. Wrapped him in blankets, kept the fire roaring. Outside, through the frosted pane, she saw the mother crouched in the snow, just beyond the light, massive frame shaking with silent sobs. Not approaching, but not leaving, watching. "Your mama's out there, kid," Clara whispered, stroking the baby's fur soft. "She ain't giving up on you." That first night dragged. Clara didn't sleep, checking every hour. Fever holding but not spiking, breathing shallow but steady. She talked low, reading from an old book like story time in class. Once upon a time, in a forest deep. Not sure if it helped, but it soothed her nerves. Dawn broke grey, storm easing to flurries. Clara stepped out for wood, and there on the porch a bundle. Roots, berries, moss packed neat. The mother was gone, but the message clear. Thanks, and help. Clara nodded to the empty woods. Gotcha. Day 2. Baby still out, but color improving. Clara changed bandages, wound less angry, pus draining. Fed him mashed potatoes mixed with broth soft. Nourishing. He took more this time, tongue flicking out instinctive. The mother returned at dusk, staying in shadows, eyes fixed on the window. Clara waved faint, not sure why. Trust building, silent but solid. No words needed, actions spoke. But Clara felt it the weight. This wasn't just patching a stray, this was crossing lines, human to myth. By day 3, signs of life. Baby opened eyes fully, looked around dazed, grunted soft when Clara approached, but no fear, just curiosity. She offered water from a cup. He lapped it slow, hand paw, gripping weak, wound healing, scabbing over. Clara smiled for the first real time in months. You're a fighter, ain't ya? Outside, the mother left another gift. Fish, fresh, caught, gutted clean. Clara cooked one up, shared the smell through the open door like an invite. The big mama hummed low, a vibration more than sound gratitude, maybe. But it wasn't all smooth. Night 3, fever spiked. Baby thrashed weak, whimpering pain. Clara cooled him with snow-packed cloths, forced herbal tea down willow bark for fever, like aspirin. Sweated it out with him, holding his hand through the shakes. Come on, little dude, she urged. Mama's waiting. Dawn. Fever broke. He slept peaceful, chest rising strong. Clara collapsed in her chair, exhausted but buzzing. Something shifted. She wasn't just helping, she was bonded. Grief for Tom eased a bit. This kid filled a hole she didn't know was gaping. Day 4. Progress. Baby sat up groggy, ate solid food, berries mashed with oats. Grunted thanks, or what sounded like it. Clara cleaned the wound again. Clean now, no infection. But she noticed more. Scars on his arms, old ones, like he'd been through hell before. What y'all running from? She wondered. The mother watched closer now, edging nearer at night, massive silhouette in the moonlight. Left gifts daily. Nuts, herbs. Clara recognized as medicinal. Exchange without touch. Out there in the dark, Clara could feel it they weren't alone. Like, at all. Glimpses in the trees, shadows taller than the mother, eyes reflecting faint. A tribe, family, watching from the fringes, silent guardians. One night, low grunts echoed, calls and responses. Not threatening, protective. Clara barred the door, but left a lantern burning. Y'all stay back, she whispered. But deep down, respect grew. These weren't monsters. They were survivors, like her. Day 5, baby stronger. Stood wobbly, limped a step. Clara supported him, arm around his furry waist. He looked up, eyes locking trust pure. Made a sound, soft rumble, like purring. Clara's chest tightened. No kids of her own, but this? Motherhood in the wildest form. Wound closing, pink skin under fur. Fed him hearty. Stew with carrots, protein from jerky softened. He ate greedy, baby hunger kicking in. Mother appeared bolder, stepping into light one dusk. Clara froze inside, watching. The big mama placed a stone smooth, carved rough like a heart on the porch, then retreated. Message. Bond. Clara picked it up later, warm in her palm. Thanks, mama. That night, more shadows in the woods, dozens maybe, circling distant, grunts softer, almost harmonious. Tribe watching? Approving? Clara slept uneasy, shotgun close. Day 6, turning point. Baby walked unaided, short paces, grunt laughing like a kid discovering legs. Clara played gentle, rolling a ball of yarn, him batting it back. Laughter in the cabin, first since Tom. But outside, tension. Footprints multiplied, not just mothers, bigger ones, Smaller. Tribe closing in. Not aggressive, but present. Clara sensed it. Time nearing. Baby healing fast. Unnatural. Quick. Maybe their biology. Wound scarred over. No limp. That evening, storm cleared. Stars sharp. Mother came close. Almost to the door. Knocked soft boom on wood. Clara opened cautious. There she stood. Massive. Eyes soft. Extended a hand. Palm up. Not threat request. Baby inside perked. Toddled to the window. Clara's heart sank. Goodbye looming. But not yet. She nodded. Closed the door gentle. One more night. Day 7. Peak. Baby full energy. Exploring the cabin. Curious fingers on books. Sniffing everything. Clara taught him simple, pointing to fire. Saying hot, him mimicking grunt. Bond deep now. But she knew. Wound healed. Fever gone. Strength back. Time to let go. Outside, gifts piled. Feathers, stones, woven vines like bracelets. Tribe whispers in the wind hums, calls. Clara packed a bag, salve, bandages, food. For the road, she said. And yo, this encounter, it changed Clara. Fear to compassion, quick. Initial hell no to I got you. 7 days of care, cleaning, feeding, warming, trusting. No words, just actions. Baby ate first every damn time, mama watching vigilant, tribe in shadows, respecting space but ready, emotional, real Clara feeling needed, alive, humor in moments, baby knocking over a pot, Clara laughing, clumsy like your Uncle Tom, but heart heavy, attachment, real. Night fell, decision time. Clara looked at the baby, playing by fire. Time to go home, little homie. He tilted head, understanding somehow. Outside, mother waited, tribe eyes glowing distant. Crisis resolved, but payoff coming. Fam, this axe wrapping encounter done. Bonds forged, Clara's world flipped, from lone widow to cryptid savior. Real talk, tears flowing quiet. Yo, what's up fam? We're jumping right into part 3, the finale. If you ain't caught up, hit pause and check parts 1 and 2. Clara Hayes, our tough-as-nails widow out in the Appalachian depths, has been through it. Grief, isolation, weird signs building to this wild encounter with a mama Bigfoot and her injured baby. 7 days of straight-up care, building trust in the silence, with the tribe lurking in the shadows. Baby's on the mend now. Bonds are deep, but nothing lasts forever out in those hills. This is the payoff, where recovery hits, truths drop, and goodbyes get real. All fiction, remember, but the message about choosing heart over hiding. That's the kind of truth that sticks. Day 8 dawned crisp, snow glittering like diamonds under a rare blue sky. The storm had finally broke, leaving the world fresh and quiet, like the mountains hit reset. Clara woke early, fire crackling low, and checked on the baby first thing. He was up already, toddling around the cabin with that clumsy energy kids get when they're bouncing back. No limp left, wound scarred over clean under the fur pink and tough, like it had never been life or death. He grunted playful, batting at a dangling spoon from the shelf, eyes bright and alert. Clara watched him, coffee in hand, chest tight with a mix of pride and that hollow ache. Look at you, little fighter, she said soft, kneeling to ruffle his head fur. He leaned into it, rumbling low content, trusting, fed him breakfast. Oats thickened with berries from Mama's gifts, him scarfing it down like he hadn't eaten in weeks. Strength fully back, unnatural fast. But Clara didn't question it anymore. These folks healed different, lived different. Outside, the porch held another offering, woven grass, twisted into a loop, like a crude bracelet, studded with shiny pebbles. Clara slipped it on her wrist, feeling the weight. Your family's saying thanks, she told the baby. He tilted his head, understanding flickering in those dark eyes. But the air felt charged, heavier than before. No wind, no birds, just stillness, like the forest was waiting. Clara stepped out for wood, And that's when she felt it amp up. Eyes everywhere, not just Mama's. Rustles in the underbrush, subtle but multiple. She loaded her arms quick, heart picking up, and headed back in. Something's shifting, she muttered. Baby perked at the door, sniffing the air, grunting excited. Mid-morning, it hit peak. Clara was changing the last bandage. Not needed, really, but habit, when a low hum vibrated through the cabin walls. Deep, resonant, like a chorus starting slow. Baby froze, then bolted to the window, pressing his face, snout, against the glass, rumbling back. Clara stood, wiping her hands. All right, time's up. She opened the door slow, shotgun leaned inside, but out of sight, no need for threats now. Stepped onto the porch, and this is where Clara saw some straight National Geographic type shit. Dawn light filtering through trees, but the woods weren't empty. They were alive with them, Bigfoots, dozens, maybe 30 or more, surrounding the cabin in a loose circle. Not crowding, respectful distance, but there. Tall ones, shorter ones, fur shades from black to reddish brown, eyes locked on her, no aggression, just presence massive, ancient, like guardians stepping out of myth. Clara's breath hitched, but she held ground. Well, damn, she whispered, not backing up. The tribe stood silent at first. Then the hum built low tones weaving together. Not song, not words, but harmony. Vibrations you felt in your bones, like thanks or prayer. From the center of the line, one stepped forward slow. Elder had to be first silvered at the edges, face wrinkled deep, eyes wise as old oaks. Taller than Mama, maybe 8 feet, moving with that deliberate grace, no rush, carried a staff-like branch, topped with feathers and stones, stopped a few yards from the porch, gaze meeting Clara's level. No fear on either side, just recognition. The baby tumbled out then, grunting happy, limping none as he crossed to Mama, who scooped him up gentle, nuzzling his head, but her eyes stayed on Clara, wet with what looked like tears. The ceremony kicked off subtle. Elder raised the staff, tribe humming louder, a rhythm building. Gestures followed, hands to chests, heads bowed slight. Gifts appeared placed at the circle's edge, not thrown. More woven items, herbs bundled tight, a massive feather from some bird Clara couldn't name, even a chunk of quartz gleaming white. Not random junk, meaningful, like tokens of debt paid. Mama stepped up next, baby on her hip now, and extended a hand palm out, fingers splayed. Clara mirrored it from the porch, their hands not touching but close enough to feel the warmth. That look they shared. No words needed, just understanding. Pure, raw gratitude, respect, a bridge built in silence. Elder grunted once, sharp, and the hum peaked, then faded, mutual respect locked in. Clara wasn't outsider no more. She'd earned place in their story. But payoffs come with ends. Tribes started retreating slow, melting into trees like shadows at noon. Mama lingered last, baby waving a tiny hand almost human-like, fingers wiggling. Clara raised hers back, voice steady. Go on now, stay safe out there. Baby rumbled low, that thank you sound from deep in his chest. Mama nodded once, heavy and final, then turned, disappearing into the green with the rest. Woods went still again, like they'd never been. Clara stood there long after, bracelet on her wrist, gifts at her feet, no tears, but that hollow in her chest spread. Goodbye, little homie, she whispered to the empty tree line. And you too, Big Mama. Porch felt bigger, cabin quieter. They were gone, but the echo lingered, days blurred after. Clara got back to routine chopping wood, tending what was left of the garden under snow, radio crackling lonely. But changed, fam. Grief for Tom softened. She'd mothered something wild, filled that ache temporary but real, no more signs at first. Footprints faded under fresh powder, no hums at night, felt empty but peaceful. Then, a week later, something new. On the stump by the woods, a small pile, clean moss, berries, A feather smoothed flat. Clara didn't touch it, just smiled faint. Y'all all right. Few days on, another stick figure woven from twigs, like a kid's drawing in 3D. Messages, silent but clear, alive, thankful, watching from afar. Winter dragged, but Clara ventured out more, hiking trails she'd avoided. Found their traces subtle, rock stacks, branches arched like doorways. Once, distant hum carried on wind greeting, maybe. She left counters, bread scraps, a knitted scarf on a low branch, exchange without sight. Locals in town noticed her glow, asked what changed. Just the mountains, she'd say, keeping secrets close. No proof, no stories spilled. That bond was hers. Spring teased eventually, snow melting to mud, green peeking through. Clara sat on her porch one dawn, coffee steaming, eyes on the tree line, felt different charged again. Looked up, and there they were. Not the whole tribe, just Mama and Baby, standing at the edge. Mama tall, vigilant. Baby grown a bit, fur fluffier, standing strong on his own. No limp, eyes alert and playful. Clara set her mug down slow, heart thumping. They didn't approach, just stood in the quiet. No wind, no sound, just that steady gaze, deeper than words. Baby stepped forward one pace, not close, but enough. Made his sound low, rumbly, not growl, pure thanks. Lasted a second, but Clara felt it hit deep. He turned back, Mama's hand on his shoulder gentle. Then they slipped into the woods, silent as mist. Clara watched till the leaves stopped shaking. No wave, no cry, just a whisper. Be good out there. That was it, the last sighting. No more gifts after, no hums. They'd moved on, safe somewhere deeper in the hills. Clara went on living wood chopping, garden blooming full come spring, radio tunes filling the air. But the cabin felt less empty. Memories warmed it now. Never had kids, she'd think, twisting the bracelet still on her wrist. But for a spell, I was mama to something that needed it bad. People down valley asked if she believed the old tales. Nah, she'd say. But love? That crosses everything human, beast, whatever. That's real. So what's the lesson here? Right. Compassion over fear. Clara could have slammed that door, but she chose heart, and it healed her too. Courage when it counts, stepping up even when every instinct says bounce. And universal love? Man, it don't care about boundaries, species, or stories. It just is, connecting in the wildest ways. This whole thing's fiction, but ask yourself, would you open that door? Would you choose helping over hiding? Drop your thoughts below. Peace.